Hello footy fans, welcome to episode 26 of the Ultimate AFL Show for season 2016. The finals are getting so close now. There's only 2 rounds to go. I'll be looking towards round 22 very shortly, but first let's get straight in to looking back at round 21. Round 21 started at Etihad Stadium on Friday night between the Western Bulldogs and Collingwood. These two teams met back in round 10 at the MCG. It was quite a close game, quite an entertaining game, and it was probably close right up until the 4th quarter when Collingwood had no interchange and the Bulldogs were able to take over and win the game. This game was sort of similar. It was close. The Western Bulldogs had the lead in the quarter time and half-time breaks. At half-time they only led by 1 point. Scores were level at 3-quarter time, 11-7 apiece. And then in the end it went right down to the wire. The Western Bulldogs had a few chances and both teams kicked a few goals each, about 3 goals each. But the Dogs were able to get a couple of behinds. Probably should have scored from those behinds, but they were behinds that basically won them the game in what was a very close tussle. The final score 14-11-95. The Dogs defeated Collingwood 14-8-92. It was a thrilling game, one of the best of the year, some people were describing, and I agree. It was a very entertaining game, close all day. No team really dominated. But the Western Bulldogs were able to just scratch through in the end in a lucky win for them. The goal kickers, Dogs, Jong, Dixon, Bonapelli, Hrovat and Cordy kicked 2 each. Dunkley, Stringer, Smith and Hunter kicked singles each in the game. Stringer's been a bit disappointing in the last couple of weeks, especially on Friday night, I thought, although he did kick a single goal, so that is good, but he was pretty quiet. Collingwood goal kickers, Moore kicked 3. He was quite influential for Collingwood. Side bottom to Goey, Oxley kicked 2 each. And then Treloar, White, Phillips, Greenwood and Maynard kicked singles for the Pies. And what was a close tussle. A good way to start round 21. Saturday started at the Gabba between the Lions and the Blues. And, well, the Lions started off well in the first quarter. They've done that a few times this year, haven't they? Started off well in the first quarter, but then dropped off. They started off very well in the first quarter. 7-2 to 3-2. Brisbane leading Carlton, and they kept that going in the second half. Led at half-time, 12-3 to 5-5. It was sort of close at 3-quarter time, although the Brisbane Lions did have a pretty convincing lead, 14-7 to 9-12. The Blues did come back in the 4th quarter, but the Lions were able to hang on and win by 4 points in a cracking game, which was a well-deserved win for the Lions. They haven't had many wins this season. Of course, their last win was a couple of weeks ago against the Bombers. Haven't had a lot of wins at home this season. This was only their 2nd win at home for the season. Of course, they bet the Suns, defeated the Suns earlier in the year at the Gabba. That was their only win at the Gabba. But they won this game for 15-9-99, defeated the Blues 13-17-95, who I thought was quite poor on Saturday, to be honest. They've played some good patches of football this year, but I tell you what, they were quite poor in this game, just like the week before against St Kilda. The goal kickers for the Lions, Close kicked 4, Zorko kicked 3, Rockcliffe kicked 2, Rich, Hanley, Smith, Lester, Walker and Cutler all ended the game with singles. The Carlton goal kickers, 4 went to Casbolt, Savani kicked 3, Wright kicked 2, Phillips, Boakhurst, Buckley and Armfield kicked singles each for the Blues. So, yeah, disappointing game from the Blues. You would probably expect a little bit better considering how improved they've been this season. And, well, for the Lions, they got a win that doesn't come often, and credit to them because they did play quite well against the Blues in this game. But can they do that next week? That's the thing. They're not very consistent with these type of performances, because one week they win and play some good football, the next they get beaten, smashed, and so forth. So can they possibly put in a good performance next week? Who knows? Probably not, but good win to them at the Gabba this week. Hawthorn and North Melbourne had a date at the MCG on Saturday, 2:10 p.m. A crucial game for North Melbourne, of course. They're sitting in that 8th spot, but it's not guaranteed that they'll play finals just yet. And for Hawthorn, well, this was a crucial clash for them, because they they want to keep that top spot, but also they lost to Melbourne last week, and they would have been pretty angry with themselves about that. So they were looking to put in a good performance on this day. They really did take the game away from North Melbourne in the first quarter. I tell you what, they led at quarter time 8-4 to North Melbourne's 1 goal. They led at half-time, although dropped off a little bit in the second quarter. Only kicked 1 goal. North Melbourne actually outscored them in the second quarter, but Hawthorn had the lead at half-time, 9-7 to 6-2. And, well, they were able to get a little bit of their mojo back in the third quarter, 11-9 to 8-7. The damage, though, was pretty much done in the first quarter, and, well, they just took the game away from North Melbourne in the fourth quarter, really. North Melbourne didn't kick a goal in the fourth quarter, kicked 2 behinds, and Hawthorn won the game pretty convincingly, 14-12, 96, defeated North Melbourne 8-9, 57. The goal kickers, Rialda kicked 3, Bruce Palopolo kicked 2 each, Gunston, Segler, Langford, Lewis, Barton, Hill and Birchall kicked singles each in this game for the Hawks. And the Kangaroos goal kickers, Petrie kicked 3, Gibson kicked 2, Goldstein, Nahas and Thomas kicked singles each for the Kangaroos. So Hawthorn, they extend, keep themselves on top of the ladder, and you'll see that a bit later on. While for North Melbourne, they're not guaranteed a finals place just yet. They're sitting on 8th spot, but they're just hanging on. And I tell you what, the next 2 games are going to be very difficult. So they really need to win one of their next 2 games to really guarantee themselves in the finals next week or the week after. They just need to win one of them to just guarantee. But it's amazing. 9 straight wins in the first 9 rounds, and now they're on a tightrope. It's quite unbelievable, to be honest. And I didn't see this coming after those 9 rounds. I thought they were in okay form, but yeah, they've just really dropped off. Haven't been able to take it up to the top 8 teams, and they're struggling, the Kangaroos. It's going to be interesting to see what they can do in the finals if they make it. The twilight game on Saturday was at Spotless Stadium between the Giants and the Eagles. This was a very big game, especially for the Eagles and also for the Giants as well, because they are trying to get a top 4 spot and give themselves every chance of winning that flag in September/October. So, yeah, they started off well, the Giants. They had the lead at quarter time, 3-3 to 1-4. They had the lead at half time and 3/4 time, but the fourth quarter was so close. The Eagles were able to come back, and with literally 3 seconds to go, the Giants were in front. The Eagles needed a goal to win. Natanui was able to kick a goal 3 seconds before the siren went, and then the siren went, and it was unbelievable. They had won by a point because Natanui put the Eagles in front. It was incredible. It was unbelievable. If you watch the game, you'll know what I'm talking about. It was an incredible moment. Natanui seems to do that all the time. He seems to get the sealers. Of course, a couple of years ago, going back to that game at Domain Stadium, or Subiaco against North Melbourne, when he got that shot on the siren and won the game for the Eagles. He does it a fair bit, doesn't he? And he didn't disappoint in this game. He got the winner and won the game for the Eagles. The final score, 14-13, 97. The Eagles defeated the GWS Giants at their home ground of Spotless Stadium. Not many teams have been able to do that this season. I think Collingwood's been the only other team who have actually been able to defeat the Giants at Spotless Stadium this year. So the Eagles defeated the Giants 14-12, 96. That's the Giants' score. The goal kickers for the Giants, Lobb kicked 4, Patton, Smith, Griffin kicked 2 each, Johnson, Cameron, Scully, Green kicked singles. For the Eagles, Kennedy kicked 3, Lacrosse, Prittis, Shuey, Natanui kicked 2 each, and then Shepherd, Hutchings and Sheed kicked singles. So it's fair to say the Eagles needed that win, because they keep the top 4 chances alive, and they keep that chance of getting a home elimination final alive, which is quite good from their point of view. They've got 2 tough games coming up, of course, Hawthorn and the Crows, so they really needed this win. So, yeah, a beautiful win there by the Eagles. Natanui getting a sealer, and it was a cracking game. Saturday night at Etihad Stadium, the Saints hosted the Swans, and it was a close first half. The Saints led at quarter time. The Swans only led narrowly at half time, but then that was all basically put in the archives because the Swans took the game away in the second half and won pretty convincingly. The final score, St Kilda 11-10-76, defeated by the Swans 23-8-146. The goal kickers for the Saints, McCartan kicked 2. With singles, Membry, Rewald, Grisham, Weller, Aikes, Wright, Montagna, Nunes and Dempster kicked singles. And then the Swans goal kickers, Franklin had a good day out. He kicked 6, Papali kicked 3, Parker kicked 3, as well as Richards, Heaney, Jack, Hannelbury, Naismith, Nikavakis, and also Kennedy, Hewitt and McVeigh kicked singles each as well for the Swans. So there you go, eh? The Swans got a very, very good win against the Saints, and you'd think the Saints, they're going to find it very difficult to make that top 8 now. They do have 2 winnable games coming up, but they probably needed to win this game to really give themselves that chance, but I think the chances are fading, in my opinion. The other Saturday night game was at Adelaide Oval between Port Adelaide and Melbourne. I expected this to be a closer game than it was, but Melbourne really did continue their, I guess, their dominance, or I guess their winning, their ability to be able to win in this game. They led at quarter time 4-2-1-3, led at half time 8-5 to 2-4. They led at 3/4 time. They won in the end. Melbourne 13-16-94. Defeated Port Adelaide 8-6-54, pretty convincingly, to be quite honest with you, and to be quite truthful. The goal kickers, Port Adelaide, Pollock, Young kicked 2 each, Wingard, Cracker, Wines and Sam Gray kicked singles each for the Power. The Melbourne goal kickers, Brayshaw, Bug, Garlick kicked 2 each, Frost, Kent, Oliver, Vince, Tyson, Watson, Jones kicked singles each in this game. The incredible thing coming out of this game is that Melbourne can still mathematically make the finals. They've got Carlton next week and then Geelong. There's North Melbourne, who has got 2 tough games, so that's the team that could be pushed out. They could still make the finals. Of course, a lot of things have got to go their way, and they've got to win, and they've probably got to win convincingly, but they can still make the finals. And how good of a story if they were able to slot into the top 8 at the end of round 23. That would be incredible, wouldn't it? So, Melbourne, good win there at Adelaide Oval. You might remember that I tipped the Power to win. I wasn't confident going into this game that I was really 100% confident with my tip, but Melbourne were really impressive in this game, and they can make the finals. They could win next week. Geelong's going to be the test. It's going to be interesting. At Etihad Stadium between the Bombers and the Suns, this was a very interesting game, close game throughout the entire way. Essendon led at quarter time by 2 points. You then had Essendon still leading at half time 6-6 to 5-5. It was a very close score at 3/4 time. Essendon 7-7 to the Suns, 8-8. In the end, though, Bombers were able to have the lead and win the game. 11-9-75, defeated the Suns 9-15-69. The Bombers have got their second win of the season. Finally, of course, they got a win against Melbourne in round 2, but that was a long time ago. So they've broken the drought, and they've won their second game of the season. The goal kickers, Bombers, Vantage kicked 3, McKenna kicked 2, Cooney, Grimley, Danaher, Brown, Merritt and Bird kicked singles each. By the way, Cooney's playing his last game this week against the Dogs next Sunday. I'll talk about that a bit more in the round 22 preview. While the goal kickers for the Gold Coast Suns, Lynch, Day, Wright kicked 2 each, and then Grant, Miller and Matera kicked singles each for the Suns. So a good win there for the Bombers. They win their second win of the season. It was a long time coming, but they finally got it. At the MCG, Richmond were hosting Geelong, and Richmond did well in the first half. They led at half time 7-4 to 3-7, and in fact they led at 3/4 time 11-6 to 4-13. So at 3/4 time, this was looking very likely that the Tigers were going to win, and this was going to be one of those ones that Geelong drops every now and again. We've talked about before how inconsistent Geelong can be. They can be a very good side and play some very good football, but at times they are very inconsistent. So this is, it was very interesting in the fourth quarter because Geelong came back. They kicked about 9 behinds in the fourth term, but they were able to come back and win the match narrowly. The final score: Richmond 12-6-78, defeated by the Cats 10-22-82. Very unlucky from a Tigers point of view. They had this in the bag at 3/4 time, but geez, the Cats just stormed home, and the Tigers, well, they couldn't do anything about it. The goal kickers for Richmond: Lloyd kicked 3, Rioli, Vickery kicked 2 each, Edwards, Hampson, Lennon, Rewalt and Grigg kicked singles each. For the Tigers, the goal kickers for the Cats: McCarthy, Mengola kicked 2 each, Smith, Selwood, Caddy, Motlop, Taylor and Hawkins, that's Joel Selwood by the way, kicked singles in this game. So Richmond could have won this game. Geelong stormed home in the fourth quarter. Guess Geelong were lucky in the end to get the win, but they played well in the fourth quarter. Richmond, they played well in the first half, probably for 3 of the 4 quarters, but just couldn't get the 4 points, unfortunately. And then the final game of round 21 was at Domain Stadium. The Crows did what they had to do. They won pretty convincingly against the Dockers, 21-16, 142. The Crows defeated Fremantle 11-14-70. The goal kickers quickly: Walters kicked 5, Pavlich kicked 2, Langdon, Sheraton, Yaron and also Ballantyne kicked singles each. By the way, what about Ballantyne? He came out during the week and said that he wants to go to the Eagles or something like that. That's incredible. But anyway, the goal kickers for the Crows: Betts kicked 6, Jenkins kicked 5, Lynch kicked 2, Atkins, Lever, Thompson, Brown, Sloan, Walker, Cameron and McGovern kicked singles each for the Crows. That game was played in front of just over 30,000 at Subiaco. So that's round 21. Let's get into the stats. So the leading goal kickers: Kennedy still leads on 70. Franklin's just behind him on 67. Lynch in third on 63. Betts in fourth on 60. And then his teammate Josh Jenkins in fifth on 57. The leading disposals: Lockie Neal leads the disposals on 661. Dangerfield is second on 628. Hanbury third on 624. Martin on 620 in fourth. And then Trelaw on 599. That top 4 is pretty close, to be honest. In fact, the whole top 5 is pretty much close. So, with 2 rounds to go, could go down to the wire. Can Dangerfield catch Neal? Who knows? The leading marks: Rewalt leads the marks still on 191. Sam Doherty for Carlton in second on 159. Heath Shaw's third on 156. You then have Tom Lynch level fourth with Alex Rance on 142. And then finally the leading tackles: Matt Prittis is on 160 in first. Ed Curnow is on 141 in second, level with Rory Sloane. Andrew Swallows in fourth on 137, and then Jack Viney for Melbourne has got himself into the leading tackles. He is in fifth on 131. And then finally the ladder: you can see Hawthorn are 4 points clear on top of the table, ahead of the Swans, Crows and Cats, who are 3 of the top 4 sides. You then have the Giants, the Eagles and the Dogs 4 points behind the top 4. And then North Melbourne there, well, they're on 48 and, 8 points behind them is Melbourne and St Kilda. So those 2 teams, Melbourne and St Kilda, could still mathematically make it. Who's gonna get in there, I'm not sure, but you can see there that Melbourne, their percentage is probably better, and they could probably top that up if they get a very good win against Carlton next week. So they're probably the best placed team to make the top 8 at the moment if North Melbourne was going to get pushed out. So I tell you what, this top 8 is going to go right down to the wire. We still don't know the final placings yet. I think that that ladder is going to really shift around in the next 2 games. Although the Swans, the Crows, it's going to be very hard to push them out of the top 4 because they've got 2 very winnable games coming up in the next couple of weeks as we head into the finals. So the ladder, top 8, very close. Okay, time now to have a look at the second last round of season 2016. It starts on Friday night at Domain Stadium in Perth between the Eagles and the Hawks. This game starting at 8:10 p.m. I'm going to tip Hawthorn for this game because Hawthorn have won 7 of the last 8 matches against the Eagles, with 4 wins being won by more than 40 points. That's quite incredible, and of course we have to look back to the last 2 really, because they have been by 40 points or more. So the Hawks are going to win for me. I think they'll win. It will be probably a close game, but I think they might do what they normally do to the Eagles, and that's win pretty convincingly in the end. I know that's probably very harsh to say considering it's at Domain Stadium, but yeah, I think the Hawks are going to win. On Saturday at Bluntstone Arena in Hobart, North Melbourne have a date with the Sydney Swans. This game starting at 1:45 p.m. I'll be heading over to this game to have a look and watch. It's going to be an interesting game because North Melbourne have kind of built Bluntstone Arena into a bit of a fortress, a bit like the Hawks have done with Aurora Stadium. However, the last time North Melbourne actually lost at Bluntstone Arena was actually against the Swans way back in 2013. So they were the last team to do it. They were the last team to defeat North Melbourne at Bluntstone Arena. So in saying that, I think I'm going to tip the Swans. I'm expecting a good game of football though, but I think the Swans will be far too good. I'm looking forward to seeing Franklin because, well, he's just got back to brilliant form this season. There's also a couple of others I'm looking forward to seeing for the Swans, and of course North Melbourne, how they go, of course, and how they handle the pressure, because pressure's really on at the moment. They could get pushed out of the top 8 and into 9th or 10th spot the way they're going. So, yeah, the Swans will win for me, and yeah, the pressure's going to be on for North Melbourne. The other Saturday afternoon game is at the MCG, 2:10 p.m. between Richmond and St Kilda. This game should be a good game, actually. Richmond have won the last 6 meetings against the Saints. So, yeah, this is going to be a good game. I'm not really sure who to tip for this one because, you know, Richmond really took it up to the Cats last week, and St Kilda, well, they were poor, I thought, last week, especially in that second half against the Swans. So I think I'm going to wait until the end of the show to decide my tip. Look on the banner and see my tip on there, because I'm just not sure at the moment. I'm thinking Richmond, but then I'm thinking the Saints as well. This is a hard one, this one. The Saturday twilight game starting at 4:35 p.m. at Spotless Stadium. The Giants and the Dockers, they met earlier in the year. The Giants actually defeated the Dockers at Domain Stadium. That was actually the GWS Giants' first win against Fremantle ever in their history, and they've done that against a couple of other teams this year as well. So I think GWS are going to win this quite easy. They would be very angry with that last 3-second winner by Nick Natanui. So they'll be looking to bounce back in this game, and I think they'll do it convincingly. On Saturday night, the Gold Coast Suns take on Collingwood at Etihad Stadium. This is the second straight game that the Gold Coast are playing at Etihad Stadium. Of course, they played there last week against the Bombers and lost. I think they're going to lose this game, but this game starting at 7:25 p.m. on Saturday night. I think Collingwood are going to win this. I think they should be far too strong by the Suns. And actually, a matter of fact, Collingwood have never lost to the Suns in Melbourne, so that's going to be an even... yeah, it's going to pretty much put Collingwood at big favourites here, you would think. And the other Saturday night game starting at 7:40 p.m. is at Adelaide Oval. It is between Port Adelaide and the Crows, the showdown. Yeah, Adelaide Crows pumped Port Adelaide the last time they met back in round 2, so yeah, Power will be very angry about that, and they'll be wanting revenge. But from what I saw last week against Melbourne, they were quite poor, and I think they're going to have a very poor ending to this season. So the Crows are going to win. They've been getting some convincing wins over the last few weeks, haven't they? I think this is going to be another one. The final 3 games of round 22 are on Sunday. The first game at 1:10 p.m. at the MCG between the Blues and the D's. I think this might be a good game, but I think Melbourne should be far too strong, and they might have a chance to boost their percentage a little bit in this game. So Melbourne are going to win this. I think could win by about 30-odd points, I'd say. The Blues have been disappointing in the last couple of weeks. They were okay against Hawthorn at Aurora, but since then they've been quite poor. So they'll be looking to get a bit of revenge, or at least get a good good win or put in a good performance to kind of make up for those last 2 weeks. Sunday mid-afternoon game is between the Lions and the Cats. This game starting at 3:20 p.m. at the Gabba. Probably can't rule out the Lions considering the Cats' performance last week, but I think the Cats will win this one at the Gabba on Sunday afternoon. And the last game is the twilight game of Sunday, the Bombers and the Dogs. And like I mentioned before, Adam Cooney's last game of his AFL career, of course. He used to play for the Dogs, played a big part of his career at the Dogs, so this is very fitting that he's playing his last game against his former side, the Dogs, for Essendon. So this game, 4:40 p.m. on Sunday at Etihad Stadium. Looking forward to that game. The Dogs should win this game. Probably a chance to boost their percentage, but that was said a couple of weeks ago, so you can't always guarantee that because the Bombers were okay. Last week against the Suns, they got a good win and is coming off a very good win. So the Dogs, though, however, should win this match. And that is it for this episode of the Ultimate AFL Show, episode 26. Thank you very much for joining me. I hope you liked this episode, and if you did, please press that thumbs up button. Don't forget to comment and subscribe. Of course, there is a new episode of this show every week. Of course, this show is going to really heat up as we get towards the finals and into the finals. I've got a lot planned for the last 4 or so weeks of this show, so do subscribe and do watch. I would really appreciate it. Thank you very much for the support. Thank you for watching. Until next week, I'm Jacob. Enjoy round 22. Hope your team wins. Bye for now.